Welcome to the final training video in this series. Today we're going to talk about admin and general user rights. The desktop is one of the most interactive space used on any computer. An administrator is generally someone that has been granted elevated rights on the computer. They can make changes at the hardware level, they can make changes in the BIOS, and they can make changes that the general user wouldn't be able to complete on the device. General users are just users on a computer that don't have any elevated rights to make any changes. Depending on your group policy, you may be able to change a lot or a little. In most cases, general users can change things like screen resolution or complete an update on a device. The desktop is the first screen you're greeted with on powering up your device and logging in. It is the general space for you to make decisions about where you want to go and what applications you want to run. In looking at the desktop, you will usually see some form of image that is either selected by the user or is just a part of the company group policy to display that picture. If you have a personal device, you have a lot of say in what that picture may look like. Generally speaking, on a Windows device, you're going to find that your icons are on the desktop screen to the left of the screen, usually arranged in some form of grid. You can choose whether or not that is arranged in a grid or if it is just automatically arranged by the type of apps. You have a lot of say in how that is arranged. At the bottom of your screen, for almost every OS, you're going to have your taskbar. And that usually includes the main manufacturer's application center. And then you might see some icons at the bottom that you can choose whether or not they are pinned to the taskbar or they are completely removed. In reviewing what you can do from the desktop, right-clicking on an app or left-clicking on an app gives you two different options. And inside those options, you'll have a breakdown of other options available to you. Now you can see on the screen, I am right-clicking and showing you some of the features that will happen for you if you right-click on your screen. These are about the same depending on if it's a business device or if it's a personal device. You see things like view, you can sort by, you can refresh the page, you can open new and see a lot of features like creating new folders, new documents. Then you have your display settings, your personalized settings, opening a terminal, and then some more options. The options that you're seeing here are generally at the read-only level. You may be able to make some changes like adjust your display resolution, but besides that, there's not a lot that the general user can do here. At the administrative level, you can make a lot more changes. There may be some cases where a user may get a second monitor and for some reason, the display is reflecting the same thing on both monitors. This is where you come to make those changes. You can identify the monitors. You can orientate them to show one display as your main display and another display as an extended display, allowing you to effectively have a bigger working space while on your device. Now, if you look closely, you will see that I have a pending update for download. I am going to go ahead and run this update, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. There are some areas that general users, again, depending on your group policy, can do some things on the device. I am allowed to download this update because it's coming directly from Microsoft, and I can essentially get the system to install this update, go through the restart, and have it applied to the device. Okay, moving right along. Now we're going to get into the control panel. And this might be a little confusing, but believe you me, there is a good reason for it to be this way. Now, what you're seeing is the more legacy UI for the control panel. If you have a lot of experience as an admin, you are pretty familiar with this space. This is probably the same view you had when we had Windows XP all the way up till now. You don't necessarily have to come here. There are other ways to access this, which I just demonstrated by going through the desktop, but this is also a pretty good UI. It has a lot of things here that I like to use. I don't like going through the newer UI that's on Windows 10, Windows 11. I like coming here. There are some things that I can do here that are just simple. They surmise a lot of the general user problem in my organization. And I imagine for like a standard user or a personal user, it's going to be the same. I can create new email folders or profiles through here. And depending on your organization, you may have something called Software Center or an area very similar to where I see updates. You can also access like your antivirus. And now we're going to move into the device manager. This is a feature in the legacy control panel UI. As you can see, the device manager houses everything that's installed on the client. Here you can make what I consider to be advanced admin changes. Care must be practiced in making these changes. You must know exactly what you're doing in this space when you make a change. You can add drivers, you can scan for hardware changes, you can add legacy hardware, you can add devices and printers in this space. And then you have other options that allow you to kind of filter this list for a better view or some form of view that works for you. I like coming to this space if I'm having driver issues, and it allows me to quickly determine what driver issues a user may be experiencing on their client and come up with an action to fix those. Consider this an easy way to categorize your problems. You're either going to have a hardware problem, a software problem, or a combination of those two. Obviously, a hardware problem is the tangible device that you can hold that is experiencing some form of failure. Your software problem has to deal with the applications or installed software that is failing or glitching. It could also mean licenses are falling off of a software, and I consider those to be, primarily just software problems. A combination of both, you may have in a lot of cases like printers. Printer spooling always has some form of issue associated with it, and it can be caused by the device having a failure itself, and it can be caused by software on that device. So there are some cases that you can have a combination of both, but there aren't a lot of cases that it's going to be a combination of hardware and software. Generally, your problem is going to be hardware, software. If you can separate your problem into one of those two, it makes it 10 times easier for you to determine the corrective course of action. So in summary, we went over what I consider to be level 1 help desk knowledge, or just for individuals that are just starting in this space and trying to get a grasp of how they are going to work on a day-to-day basis. I did not go into the BIOS portion of this space only because I believe there are other videos out there that do a much better job than I can in explaining the differences of BIOSes across manufacturers. Even though the features may be the same, every manufacturer has their own UI for a BIOS, and sometimes it's easy to find what you're looking for, and other times not so much. One thing I will say about BIOS, the BIOS area, is that if you're an administrator working in an organization and you receive new machines that you're powering up, getting ready for deployment, a course of action that should always be taken is changing the BIOS password, having some form of password management in your organization before you deploy those devices out to end users. My reasoning for saying that is BIOS passwords for many, many years has been established by the manufacturer as just password. Everyone understands that today, and anyone can just go online and look up a BIOS password that is issued by the manufacturer. So it only makes sense that an organization that's going to deploy new clients to end users make a change to the BIOS password, that way users can't go into that space and make changes that may be irreparable to the device. At this point, you should be able to address some level 1 help desk tasks, or just know enough to address your own personal issues without having to seek out an IT professional. And so I'd like to end by saying thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. It allows my videos to be recognized by the algorithm and distribute them to other members that might be interested in this knowledge.